how chicken was reborn in heaven, went to heaven. And then, so that's why I would keep reading, studying. And then I would later think, and then later on I would find the answer. Let's say, now on that corner, just suppose there's a human being dying, and there's a chicken or a dog or an animal dying. Right? You are watching them die. Now just imagine. So, and then for sure, and then you would say, and then you would cry, you would lament, you would weep, and as the man is dying, maybe he's one of your beloved relatives, your friends, or one of your friends, one of your relatives, one of your loved ones, and then the dog. Let's say there's a dog dying, and some of you, and those who had kept the dog as a pet, and would cry definitely. But and then you would only lament the death of the man and not necessarily the death of the dog, right? Because it's an animal. You always think that. But you know what? At the last thought moment, during the last thought moment, their consciousness is same. But we always judge based on the personality of the human being and the nature of the human being and the nature of the the animal. For sure we know that animals can think. They don't have the power of reasoning out, where human beings do. But which part of yourself dies first? I have seen that. One of my grand teachers, he died on my lap. At that time I was, I think, 84. Yeah, I was 17. Or yeah, I was 16 years old when he died. And then he died on my lap. I saw he was very fair and very tall man and a very handsome monk. And he was just like, and everybody would scare. He's a very good personality. And he died when he was 90. And I saw his toes and finger. His death started from his fingertips and toe tips. And finally the consciousness got centralized onto his chest. And then finally he would breathe his last breath. And then because during our life, our mind remains spread up to our nerve endings, except our hair and nails. And this is the Abhidharmic point of view. But nowadays it is no science at all. But think of 2,500 years back, that was real science. And then wherever our neurology is, our nerve system, and then thereupon is our mind. Therein is our mind. So wherever our nerve system remains in our physical body, thereupon is our mind. It's all over. And then and we have how many sense faculties do we have? Our eyes, our nose, our ears, our tongue, and our skin. 5 sense faculties, 5, and mind with 6 senses. So when we talk about our sensory perception, it is always the first 5 senses. And then how many consciousnesses do we have? 1 consciousness. But it becomes 5. It is the same consciousness that becomes 5. Why? When the consciousness is functional through our eyes, it becomes eye consciousness. It becomes nose consciousness, it becomes tongue consciousness, it becomes ear consciousness, it becomes skin consciousness. Right? That's how we call the 5. That's how, as our mind flows through, when our mind flows through, our consciousness flows through our sense faculties, and based on the sense faculty, the name, there's a name change. We name our consciousness after eye, after our nose, after our tongue, after our ear, after our skin. But when you die, and then sense faculty. Consciousness stops flowing into these sense faculties first, and it gets centralized. It goes back to its original status. The original status of the consciousness is Alaya Vijnana in Mahayana Buddhism, storehouse consciousness, or mental continuum, or Bhavanga Chitta, or subliminal consciousness according to Pali Buddhism, early Buddhism, Thero Buddhism, the same thing, right? And then it's like you have a pen drive. Here you call pen drive, flash drive, memory stick, 3 words, right? So your memory stick or pen drive or flash drive, you hook it to the USB port, and then you identify this external drive, and you click on that, go to my computer and select, okay, this is F or G or F, whatever, depending on the number of drives you have hooked up to the computer, and you click on that. My computer is a 4 gig memory stick, and it has 4,000, 5,000 pictures, right, or many talks, and then many documentaries, and you run them. And finally what happens? You close the program, and then you eject the drive, so you unplug it, right, and you keep it in the world, and you take it. That's how our subliminal consciousness is. We copy all our karmic data, karmic files and memory files onto our we call this psychological microchip, or psychological pen drive, and in the US we call it psychological mental microchip. And nowadays, because it's nanotechnological, not just technological, it's nanotechnological to say that, right? It's nanotechnology, very small, and then so you can have so many data, and then you copy everything onto that drive, right? And then it contains everything. So what happens is, now that our consciousness stops flowing through our sense faculties. So in other words, our original consciousness, our subliminal consciousness stops. Stops disconnects itself from its external applications, right? No more external applications. It just stops. All the data are restored back, or goes back into the chip, and that contains everything, karmic data and memory chip. And that is not soul according to Christianity. Or in Judeo-Christian religions, you believe in soul, but we don't believe in soul. But in Buddhism, we call it self. But where soul is permanent and irresistible, self is resistible and can be altered, right? And then the essence of our self is storehouse consciousness in Mahayanist terms, or subliminal consciousness, or mental continuum, or Bhavanga Chitta in Theravadin terminology. It's the same thing. So, and then that contains everything. Sometimes when you run a software, right, you need to install a software, and then click on the software, put the drive, put the CD on the drive, insert that, and click on, and somehow it will start running automatically. And then you count at 100, software is installed, right, it's complete, right? And then you need to remove the software, and then install 100 to 1, right? 0 back, and then you remove the drive, the CD. This is what happened at the last thought moment. We call this LMT, not the kind of LMT some of you are in a retreat at Central Temple. Lifting, moving, touching of your feet, that's another LMT in walking meditation. This is another LMT, which is this is LTM. Usually it's called last moment of thought, LMT, last moment of thought. In case you mix up both, you can say LTM, last thought moment, or last moment of thought. So at that point, when your mind is now going back to default consciousness, I don't know any computers, but